At my daughter's wedding, I sat in the back row like some forgotten relative nobody wanted to see. Little did I know that this handsome groom was already planning to take everything I had. 3 days after the wedding, he'd knock on my door with papers that would make me realize I'd been living with a dangerous secret for 2 whole years. If you're watching this, tell me in the comments what country you're from. What Daniel Cooper didn't know was that this quiet old grandmother had been hiding the biggest surprise of her life. The wedding day started like any normal morning. I picked out my best dress, a simple blue one that wouldn't draw attention. My hair was neat and tidy, just like Harold always liked it. When I got to the church, my daughter Lucy looked beautiful in her white dress. "Gran, you look nice," she said quickly before running off to fix her makeup. That's what you say about soup or weather, not your grandmother at your wedding. But I watched everyone arrive and saw something interesting. Daniel's family acted like they owned the whole world. His mother wore diamonds that sparkled like stars. His father talked loud about his big business deals. They looked at me like I was just some poor old woman who couldn't even afford good shoes. During the ceremony, I noticed how Daniel smiled differently at different people. Big smiles for rich guests, small smiles for regular folks, and no smile at all for people like me. After the wedding, Daniel walked over to me with his brightest smile. "Mrs. Henderson," he said, "wasn't that just perfect?" I smiled back and said, "Oh yes, dear. Very nice." He leaned closer and whispered, "I'd love to have coffee with you soon. Just as I want to be a good son-in-law." Most people would think that's sweet. But I've been around for 70 years, and I know when someone wants something from me. "That sounds lovely," I told him. "When would work for you?" He looked excited and said, "How about tomorrow? I know a quiet place where we can really talk." Tomorrow. Most people wait at least a week after their wedding before visiting Grandma. But Daniel seemed to be in a big hurry. "Sure, dear," I said. "I'll look forward to it." As he walked away, I caught my reflection in the church window. There I was, a little old lady in a simple dress, looking like I probably worried about paying for groceries. The next day, I got dressed in my oldest clothes. I wanted to look exactly like what Daniel expected, a grandmother who didn't have much money. The restaurant he picked was fancy, the kind of place where they give you tiny portions on big plates. Daniel was already there, wearing an expensive suit and checking his gold watch. "Mrs. Henderson," he said, jumping up like I was the most important person in the world. "You look wonderful." We ordered coffee, and Daniel started talking about how hard life was for young people today. "Everything costs so much," he said, shaking his head sadly. "Lucy and I are trying to save money, but it's really tough." I nodded and made sympathetic sounds. Then he leaned forward and said, "I worry about you too, Mrs. Henderson. Living alone in that big house must be scary." "Scary. I've been living alone just fine for 2 years, thank you very much." "Oh, I manage," I said quietly. Daniel's eyes got bright, like he'd been waiting for this moment. "But what if something happens? What if you get sick or confused? What if bad people try to trick you?" Bad people trying to trick me. I looked at this young man sitting across from me and thought, "Honey, you have no idea who you're talking to." But I just smiled and said, "I suppose that could happen." Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. "I've been thinking about this a lot," he said. "I talked to a lawyer friend, and he gave me some papers that could help protect you." He opened the folder and showed me documents with big words like power of attorney and financial guardianship. "These would let Lucy and me help you with important decisions," he explained. "Just in case you ever need help." I looked at the papers and pretended to be confused. "This looks very complicated," I said. "What does it all mean?" Daniel's smile got even bigger. "It means you'd never have to worry about money or legal stuff again. Lucy and I would take care of everything. Everything. Including taking all my money and putting me somewhere they could control me." "That's very thoughtful," I said slowly. "But shouldn't I ask my own lawyer first?" Daniel's smile flickered for just a second. Well, lawyers cost a lot of money, he said. And they might not understand your special situation. My special situation? What situation is that? Yes. Being elderly and alone, he said gently. Living on a small pension, worrying about the future. Small pension. Oh, if only he knew. I see, I said. And you think I should sign these papers right away? The sooner the better, Daniel said, pulling out a pen. My lawyer friend is waiting outside. He can witness your signature, and then you'll be completely safe. His lawyer friend was waiting outside. This boy had planned everything. Well, I said, this is all very sudden. I think I need time to think about it. Daniel's face changed completely. The fake kindness disappeared, and I saw the real Daniel underneath. Mrs. Henderson, he said, his voice getting harder. I really think you should sign these today. The longer you wait, the more dangerous it becomes. Dangerous? For who? I'm sorry, dear, I said, but I never make big decisions without sleeping on them first. I stood up to leave, and Daniel grabbed my arm. Not hard but firm enough to make his point. Sit down, he said quietly. We're not done talking. I looked at his hand on my arm, then looked into his eyes. For just a moment, I let him see the real me. Not the confused old lady, but the woman who'd been married to a very successful man for 45 years. Take your hand off me, I said in a voice that could cut glass. Now. He let go immediately, probably surprised by how strong I sounded. I'll call you tomorrow, I said and walked out. That night, I sat in my kitchen thinking about Harold and the secret he'd made me promise to keep. 2 years ago when he was dying, he'd made me swear that I wouldn't tell anyone, not even Lucy, about the money. Promise me, he'd whispered. There are people who would hurt you if they knew. Wait until you're sure you can trust them. I'd thought he was being paranoid. Now I knew he was being smart. The next morning Daniel called bright and early. Mrs. Henderson, I hope you've had time to think about our conversation. His voice was cheerful again, but I could hear the desperation underneath. I have, I said. And I've decided to get my own lawyer. There was a long silence. Then Daniel said, I don't think that's necessary. My lawyer friend can handle everything. His lawyer friend who was part of his plan to rob me. I insist, I said firmly. If these papers are so important, my lawyer should look at them first. Daniel's voice got angry. Mrs. Henderson, you're being stubborn. I'm trying to help you. Help me. By stealing everything I owned. I appreciate your concern, I said, but I've made my decision. I hung up the phone and immediately called the one person Harold had told me to contact if I ever needed help. Margaret Walsh had been Harold's lawyer for 20 years. She was smart, tough, and she knew all about the money. Mrs. Henderson, she said when I called, I've been wondering when you'd need me. I told her about Daniel and his papers. She listened quietly, then said, I'll be right over. An hour later, she was sitting in my living room, looking at Daniel's documents with disgust. This is theft, she said simply. If you'd signed these papers, Daniel would have had complete control over everything you own. She looked at me seriously. He knows about the money, doesn't he? I shook my head. I don't think so. He seems to think I'm just a poor old woman. Margaret smiled. Then he's about to get the biggest surprise of his life. She pulled out her phone and made a call. I'm calling the police, she said. What he tried to do is called elder abuse. But I had a better idea. What if we let him think he's winning? Yes. Margaret raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I smiled, thinking about Harold and how he'd always said the best way to catch a rat was to let it think it had found the cheese. What if I call him and say I've changed my mind? That I want to sign the papers? Margaret's eyes lit up. And we record everything, she said. Get him to admit what he's really doing. The next day, I called Daniel with my sweetest grandmother voice. Daniel, dear, I've been thinking about what you said. You're right, I do need help. He sounded thrilled. That's wonderful, Mrs. Henderson. When can we meet? I could practically hear him rubbing his hands together. How about today? At my house. He said he'd be there in an hour. Margaret and I spent that hour setting up recording equipment and calling the police. When Daniel arrived, he brought his lawyer friend and a woman with a briefcase. Mrs. Henderson, he said, this is my attorney, Mr. Brooks, and this is Sarah, a notary public. They were ready to make it all legal. Please sit down, I said, playing the part of the grateful old lady. I'm so glad you're here to help me. Daniel spread the papers on my coffee table like he was dealing cards in a poker game. Now, Daniel said, these papers will make sure you're safe. Lucy and I will handle all your money, pay your bills, make sure you have everything you need. I picked up the pen and pretended to read the papers. This says you'll have power of attorney over all my assets, I said. What exactly does that mean? Daniel's eyes got greedy. It means we'll take care of everything. You'll never have to worry about money again. All my money? I asked innocently. Even my savings account? Daniel nodded eagerly. Everything. Your house, your car, your bank accounts, any investments you might have. Any investments I might have. If only he knew about the $30 million sitting in Harold's trust fund. That's very kind, I said. But what if I have more money than you think? Daniel laughed. Mrs. Henderson, we know you live on a small pension. How much could there be? I looked at him with my most innocent expression. Well, Harold was very good with money. He might have left me more than I realized. Daniel's lawyer friend leaned forward. How much more? He asked. I pretended to think. I'm not sure. Maybe. A lot. Daniel's eyes got wide. What do you mean by a lot? Shrug. I found some papers that mention numbers with lots of zeros. But I don't understand them. The three of them looked at each other like they'd just won the lottery. Mrs. Henderson, Daniel said, trying to sound calm, those papers are probably very important. After you sign these documents, we'll help you figure out exactly what Harold left you. After I signed the papers that would give them control of everything. That sounds wonderful, I said, picking up the pen again. Should I sign here? I pointed to the signature line. Yes, Daniel said, practically jumping out of his chair. Right there. I put the pen on the paper and paused. You know, I said thoughtfully, I should probably tell you about Harold's safe. The room went completely quiet. Safe? Daniel whispered. Oh yes, I said casually. In the basement. Full of papers and things. I never opened it because I didn't know the combination. That was a lie, but they didn't need to know that. After I sign these papers, I continued. You'll help me open it, right? Daniel was practically drooling. Of course. We'll help you with everything. His lawyer friend was making notes like he was planning a treasure hunt. The notary was getting her stamp ready. They thought they were about to steal not just my little pension, but Harold's entire fortune. Wonderful, I said and signed the first page. As I signed each page, I asked innocent questions. So you'll have control of all my money? Yes. Even if it's more than we thought? Yes. And I won't be able to change my mind later? Well, that would depend on your mental state. My mental state. They were already planning to declare me crazy if I tried to stop them. I see, I said and signed the last page. Daniel and his friends were practically dancing with joy. Mrs. Henderson, Daniel said, you've made the right choice. Now about that safe. I smiled sweetly. Oh yes, the safe. There's just one tiny problem. Daniel's smile froze. What problem? I looked at each of them, then said in my strongest voice, the problem is that you're all under arrest. The front door opened and police officers came in. What's happening? Daniel shouted as the officers put handcuffs on him. This is what happens to people who try to steal from old ladies, I said, no longer playing the confused grandmother. You have the right to remain silent, the officer told Daniel. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. Daniel looked at me with pure hatred. "You tricked us," he screamed. "You're just a poor old woman." "Actually," I said, "I'm a very rich old woman. And you just confessed to trying to steal $30 million. Daniel's face went white. "$30 million, he whispered. "That's right," I said. "Harold left me $30 million. Money that you'll never see a penny of." As they led him away, I heard him screaming about how it wasn't fair, how he deserved that money, how I was just a stupid old lady. After they left, Margaret hugged me. "That was brilliant," she said. "You got him to confess everything." I sat down in my favorite chair, feeling tired but victorious. Harold always said the best way to catch a thief was to let them think they'd already won. The phone rang. It was Lucy crying. "Gran, they arrested Daniel. They're saying he tried to steal from you." Decide. This was going to be the hardest conversation of my life. "Lucy, sweetheart, come over. We need to talk." When she arrived, her eyes were red from crying. "Gran, this is all a mistake. Daniel loves me. He wouldn't steal from you." I sat her down and played the recording of Daniel's confession. Her face went through so many emotions: shock, anger, sadness, betrayal. "He really tried to take everything from you," she whispered. "Everything," I confirmed. "And he was planning to put me in a nursing home." "But why would he do that?" Lucy asked. "Because he thought I was just a poor old woman with a little bit of money." I took her hands. "Lucy, there's something I need to tell you. Something your grandfather made me promise to keep secret." I told her about the $30 million, about Harold's investments, about why he'd made me wait to tell anyone. $30 million, she whispered. We're rich. We're comfortable," I said. "But more importantly, we're safe. Harold knew that people might try to take advantage of me if they knew about the money." Lucy was quiet for a long time. Finally she said, "Gran, I'm so sorry. I married a man who tried to steal from my own grandmother." I hugged her tight. "You married a man who lied to you. That's not your fault." But I could see the pain in her eyes. Her marriage was over before it had really begun. The next few weeks were hard. Lucy had to face the fact that her husband was a criminal. Daniel's family tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, but the recording was clear. He'd confessed to everything on tape. Margaret said he'd probably go to prison for a long time. "Elder abuse is a serious crime," she explained. "Especially when it involves this much money." Daniel had thought he was stealing from a poor old woman. Instead, he tried to steal $30 million. The trial was all over the news. Local man tries to steal millions from elderly mother-in-law. Daniel's picture was on every TV channel and newspaper. At the trial, they played the recording of his confession. You could hear the greed in his voice when he talked about getting control of all my money. The jury found him guilty in less than an hour. The judge sentenced him to 15 years in prison. As they led Daniel away, he looked at me one last time. "You ruined my life," he said. I looked right back at him. "No," I said. "You ruined your own life when you decided to steal from family." After the trial, Lucy and I went home and sat in the kitchen where Harold used to read his newspaper every morning. "What happens now?" Lucy asked. "Now," I said, "we live our lives. We use Harold's money to help people who need it. And we never forget that family should protect each other, not steal from each other." Lucy got a divorce and moved back home with me. We used some of Harold's money to start a foundation that helps elderly people protect themselves from scams. We called it the Harold Henderson Foundation for Elder Protection. Every year, we help hundreds of seniors avoid the trap that Daniel tried to set for me. "It's what your grandfather would have wanted," I told Lucy. "He always said money should be used to help people, not hurt them." The funny thing is, I still live in the same house, wear the same simple clothes, and shop at the same grocery store. People in town know about the trial, but they don't know about the $30 million. Margaret helps me keep that secret. "The less people know," she says, "the safer you are." Harold was right. Having money makes you a target. But being smart with money makes you dangerous to the people who want to steal it. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd been a real poor old woman. Daniel would have stolen everything I had and put me in a nursing home. I would have died alone and forgotten. But Harold's money gave me the power to fight back. Money isn't everything, I tell Lucy. But it's everything when you need to protect yourself from people who want to hurt you. Lucy asked me once why I didn't just tell Daniel about the money from the beginning. Maybe if he'd known how much there was, he wouldn't have tried to steal it, she said. I laughed. Sweetheart, if he'd known about $30 million, he would have tried even harder to steal it. Greedy people don't stop being greedy when they find out there's more money. They just get greedier. Now 3 years later, Lucy has a new boyfriend. A nice man named Tom who works as a teacher and drives an old car. He doesn't ask about money or try to give me legal advice. He just brings me flowers from his garden and helps me fix things around the house. This one's different, Lucy says, and she's right. Tom loves Lucy for who she is, not for what he thinks she can give him. I still get letters from Daniel in prison. He writes about how sorry he is, how he made a mistake, how he deserves another chance. I throw them away without reading them. Some mistakes are too big to forgive. Some people are too dangerous to trust. Harold used to say, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Daniel showed me exactly who he was the day he tried to steal my life. The Harold Henderson Foundation has helped over 500 elderly people avoid scams just like the one Daniel tried to pull on me. We teach them how to recognize the warning signs, the sudden interest in their finances, the pressure to sign papers quickly, the isolation from family and friends. Trust your instincts, we tell them. If something feels wrong, it probably is. One of the people we helped was an 80-year-old man named George. His nephew was trying to get him to sign over his house. George felt something was wrong but didn't know what to do. We connected him with a lawyer who discovered that the nephew owed gambling debts and planned to sell George's house to pay them. You saved my life, George told me. I would have been homeless. That's why we do this work. People often ask me how I knew Daniel was lying. The truth is, I didn't know for sure at first. But Harold had taught me to watch for certain things. Pay attention to what people do, not what they say, he used to tell me. Actions show you the truth. Daniel's actions showed me that he was in a hurry, that he didn't want me to talk to my own lawyer, that he was more interested in my money than in my well-being. The hardest part of the whole experience was watching Lucy's heart break. She really loved Daniel, or at least she loved the person she thought he was. How could I have been so wrong about him? She asked me one night. You weren't wrong, I told her. He was a very good liar. That's how con men work. They make you believe they're someone they're not. Lucy is stronger now because of what happened. She's learned to trust her instincts too. Margaret says that cases like Daniel's are becoming more common. Elder abuse is a growing problem, she explains. As people live longer and save more money, they become bigger targets. That's why it's so important to have a plan. Harold's plan saved me. He knew that someday someone might try to take advantage of me. He prepared me for that day, even though he wouldn't be there to protect me himself. The $30 million is still there, safely protected in Harold's trust. I use some of it for the foundation, some for helping family and friends, and some for making sure Lucy and I are comfortable. But most of it just sits there waiting. What are you waiting for? Lucy asks. I'm not waiting, I tell her. I'm protecting. This money is our family's security for generations to come. Sometimes I wonder what Harold would think about everything that happened. I think he'd be proud that I caught Daniel and stopped him from stealing our life savings. But I also think he'd be sad that it was necessary. Harold always believed that people were basically good. It would have hurt him to know that his own granddaughter married someone who would try to steal from her grandmother. The thing that makes me angriest about Daniel isn't that he tried to steal from me. It's that he hurt Lucy. He married her not because he loved her, but because he thought she was his ticket to easy money. When he found out her grandmother lived in a modest house and dressed in simple clothes, he thought I'd be an easy target. He was wrong about that, but he was right about one thing: I did have money. More money than he could have imagined. People sometimes ask me if I regret keeping the money secret for so long. The answer is no. If Lucy had known about the $30 million, she might have told Daniel. If Daniel had known about it before the wedding, he might have been more careful, more clever. He might have found a way to steal it without getting caught. Harold's plan worked perfectly. The secret kept us safe until we needed to use it to defend ourselves. These days, I'm more careful about who I trust. I still go to the same grocery store and wear the same simple clothes, but I pay attention to how people treat me. Do they want to help because they care about me, or because they want something from me? It's not always easy to tell the difference, but I'm learning. Harold's money gave me the power to fight back, but Harold's wisdom gave me the knowledge to see threats before they become dangerous. The Harold Henderson Foundation has become my life's work. Every person we help reminds me of why Harold saved that money in the first place. Money should protect people, he used to say, not control them. Daniel tried to use fake legal papers to control me. But real money, honestly earned and carefully saved, gave me the power to protect myself and others. Lucy is planning to get married again next year. This time she's taking it slow. She and Tom have been together for 2 years, and he still doesn't know about the money. Should I tell him? She asks me. When you're ready, I tell her. When you're sure he loves you for who you are, not for what you have. Tom has never asked about our finances, never suggested that Lucy needs help managing her money, never showed any interest in anything except making Lucy happy. The difference between Tom and Daniel is like the difference between sunshine and lightning. Daniel was bright and flashy and dangerous. Tom is steady and warm and safe. I can see why you like him, I tell Lucy. He reminds me of your grandfather. Harold wasn't the most exciting man in the world, but he was honest and kind and he worked hard to take care of his family. That's worth more than all the charm in the world. Sometimes I get calls from other elderly people who've heard about my story. They want to know how to protect themselves from scams. Trust your instincts, I tell them. If someone is pushing you to make quick decisions about money, that's a red flag. If someone doesn't want you to talk to your own lawyer, that's a red flag. If someone is more interested in your money than in your well-being, that's the biggest red flag of all. I also tell them about the importance of having a plan. Don't wait until you're in trouble to think about protection, I say. Have a trusted lawyer, have a trusted financial advisor. Have a trusted friend or family member who can help you make good decisions. And most importantly, don't let anyone pressure you into giving up control of your own life. Harold's plan saved me. Everyone should have a plan. The money is still a secret to most people. My neighbors still think I'm just a widow living on Social Security. The cashier at the grocery store still gives me the senior discount. The mailman still worries about me when I don't pick up my mail for a day or two. I like it that way. Being rich doesn't mean you have to act rich. Harold always said that the best way to keep money is to live like you don't have any. But the money has changed my life in ways that don't show. I sleep better at night knowing that I can take care of myself and my family. I'm not afraid of getting sick or needing help, because I know I can afford the best care. I don't worry about leaving Lucy with debts or problems, because I know she'll be taken care of. Harold's $30 million didn't just give me wealth. It gave me peace of mind. Daniel gets out of prison in 12 more years. He'll be in his 40s, with a criminal record and no job prospects. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about what he lost. Not just the money he tried to steal, but the family he destroyed, the life he threw away. Lucy says she doesn't hate him anymore, but she'll never forgive him. He didn't just try to steal from you, she says. He stole my trust. That's something you can never get back. The Harold Henderson Foundation keeps growing. We've helped save over $2 million from being stolen by scammers. We've prevented dozens of elderly people from being tricked into signing away their homes, their savings, their independence. This is Harold's real legacy, I tell Lucy. Not the money he saved, but the people that money is helping to save. I'm 75 years old now, and I know I won't live forever. But I'm not worried about what happens when I'm gone. Lucy is smart and strong and she's learned to be careful. The foundation will continue helping people long after I'm gone. And the money will keep protecting our family for generations to come. Harold would be proud of what we've built with his gift. People sometimes ask me if I miss the old days, when I didn't know about the money. It was simpler then, they say. Weren't you happier when you didn't have to worry about people trying to steal from you? The answer is no. I wasn't happier when I was vulnerable. I wasn't happier when I was an easy target. Harold's money didn't make my life more complicated. It made my life more secure. The best part of having the money isn't being able to buy things. It's being able to help people. Last month, we helped a 90-year-old woman whose son was trying to sell her house without her permission. The month before that, we helped a man whose caregiver was stealing his Social Security checks. Every person we help reminds me that Harold's money is doing exactly what he wanted it to do. Protecting people who need protection. Lucy asks me sometimes what I would have done if Harold hadn't left me the money. Would you have been able to stop Daniel? She wants to know. I think about it and I'm not sure. Without the money for lawyers and private investigators, without the power that comes from being wealthy, I might have been helpless. That's why Harold saved it, I tell her. He knew that someday I might need that power. The thing about having $30 million is that it changes how people treat you, but only if they know about it. The people who matter to me, the people I trust, they treat me the same way they always have.